Hi, I'm Johnny Disco, and this is my Think Aloud project. For today, I'm going to be doing a quick proof of one of my styrofoam printmaking plates for a class project that I'm working on for the spring semester. All right, let's get started. Okay, so as we get started, I just want to run through some of the supplies that I have out here before I start actually making my first state proof. So the first thing, I've got, of course, my initial sketch that I've already transferred over to my styrofoam plate for the print to make the print. I've already drawn that out, so we're ready to print. We're not going to worry about any drawing. This particular print that we're pulling is considered a state proof. I'm not sure that I'm finished with the image yet, so right now what I'm going to ultimately print today is just to kind of see where my print is, where my block is, and I can make like whatever decisions if I have to do more work with the image, or if I'm ready to move on to the next step in my particular project, which will be to start adding color in a second plate. So the other things I have out here, I've got my Baron. So this is kind of a more traditional Western Baron. This is what I'm going to be using to apply pressure whenever it's time to actually print everything. And then I've also got, I'm not going to be using this, but this is a more traditional Japanese style Baron. It's covered with the bamboo paper. It's wonderful for those ukiyo-e style woodcut prints. This would be the type of Baron that they used. But that's not what we're going to be doing today. Again, we're going to be using the Western style. I've also got what I'm going to use is kind of a palette knife. It's just a regular putty knife. It's pretty pliable, which is going to help with laying out a smooth layer of ink. I'm using just a basic black speedball ink. It's a water-based ink, so it's going to be very easy to clean up afterwards. And of course, I've got my ink brayer. Sometimes people refer to this as a roller. Roller or brayer, both are acceptable terms. The more correct term, I believe, would be to say a brayer. And then whenever I'm not handling it, you will notice that it is always laid on the back side here. You never want to lay it on the actual roller part. Because if you do, you can develop flat spots, and I don't want flat spots on my roller because I want the ink to roll out nice and smooth whenever I am applying ink and printing. Okay, and then also I've just got a bottle of water. Since this is water-based ink for cleanup, I'll just be spraying down the table with water. So to get started, first I'll just take the cap off of my ink, and then I'll be rolling out the ink here. So I'm just going to put a small dab right there. I'm just squeezing out a little bit of ink. I'm not going to be printing a whole lot, so I'm not putting too much ink out for today. And then the first step, kind of keeping in mind how long my brayer is, I'm just going to spread out that ink about the length of my brayer. Let's put that off to the side here. So then I'm going to take my brayer. I'm starting just a little bit behind the ink, rolling all the way through, and I complete that until that ink rolls out one time. So I've got the original spot and then the second spot. And then I've picked up my brayer. I'm going to start back here, do the same thing. And you notice it's a little bit off. So do the same thing, pick up, roll forward, pick up, roll forward. I'm going to be quiet for a second because I want to see if it picks up the sound of the ink rolling across the acrylic glass that I have down on my desk. So I don't know if you can hear that very well, but whenever your ink is applied nice and even, and then starting to even out here, you kind of get this nice even sound, kind of like a softer version of like undoing Velcro almost. The two things I always watch for is that sound, and it's just something you get accustomed to. It's kind of an even sound as I'm rolling it out. If you can hear that, this works much better in person, I promise. But then also, I'm looking at the ink that I'm rolling out, and it's a nice even, I have a nice even flat of black ink here. As I started, I could see that there were like kind of blobs, and now I've pretty much eliminated that. Generally speaking, I want to just keep going in this forward motion. Once I have a good slab of ink down, I might roll back and forth. But I don't want to do that while I'm trying to get that nice even slab out, because if I just keep rolling back and forth, I'm just putting ink in the same spots over and over again. I'm not actually like getting that nice flat of ink. So that's why it's important to pick up, bring back, pick up, bring back, pick up, bring back. Okay, so I'm going to move my drawing out of the way. So I've got my, this is actually literally from a styrofoam plate that's been cut down. They do make styrofoam like this for in larger sheets for class use, and this is kind of designed for a specific project that I have in mind for my class. So first, I've got my brayer nice and charged up with ink. I'm going to apply the ink to the plate. So that's not a bad first coat. We're going to go on, get some more ink on the brayer. I'm going to go this direction once or twice. Not really essential. I am going to go across long way on my block, and I'm just trying to make sure that I have the ink applied. I'm going to turn it around. And I'm doing all this just to kind of make sure that I'm getting as even of a coat of ink on my plate as I can. Okay. So I feel, as I'm kind of looking things over, I'm starting to get a little fill in on this part up here. So I'm going to stop inking at this point and set my brayer off to the side, again, laying my brayer on the back so I'm not going to develop any flat spots. I'm going to move my, let's see, actually, I'm just going to clean up that little spot here. Normally, so yeah, as I said, a little bit of water, and this just comes right up. Normally, I would have a separate printing area, but for the sake of doing this, I'm just going to use this spot here, just clean it up real quick, which is, again, one of the blessings of using water-based ink. So I'm not super concerned about registration on this. I'll have some borders, I can kind of adjust it as I need later. This is just a state proof, so I'm not like concerned. It's not like I'm not worried about having a like having everything perfectly lined up for like final presentation or anything. So I'm just going to lay the paper down. I'm going to kind of gently like put my hands over the whole block, just kind of get, so the ink is going to be tacky, right? It's going to be, yeah, it's going to have a little bit of stickiness to it. So whenever I do that, the paper is going to be somewhat held down by that ink. But that's not going to be enough pressure to actually release the ink from the block onto the paper. That's what I have the baren for. So I'm going to put not a ton of pressure because, again, I'm working with styrofoam, and it's a shallow relief, meaning that there's not like a real deep cut or incision into the plate. Oh, that's weird to do left-handed for me. But yeah, so I'm not applying a ton of pressure, but I am, I'm not pushing down as hard as I possibly could, but I am definitely being firm with it because I want to make sure that that ink is releasing off of the block, or the print matrix, if you will, if you want to be fancy about it. Any plate that you use for printmaking is considered your matrix. So my styrofoam plate in this instance is my matrix. But yeah, I want to make sure that the ink is releasing off of that onto the paper. I feel pretty good. As I'm doing this, you'll notice I'm doing kind of a circular motion. It's the best way to get overall, like get kind of even pressure. So I'm not just like rubbing down on one, like if I were just to do directionally like that, it'll look more uneven in the way the pressure, like it'll be applying pressure kind of unevenly. So this is kind of the best way to get it overall applied in an even manner throughout the whole plate. So I don't know how well this is showing up in the video, but I can kind of start to see the image through the paper because I'm using kind of thinner print paper for this particular thing. So I want to see where I am with this and if I need to keep applying pressure with the Baron. And ooh, that's stuck pretty good. And it looks pretty good. I'm going to just target this upper area just a little bit more. So if you notice, I just rolled up the paper a little bit. I didn't take the whole thing off. And that's so that I could lay it back down in the same spot. If I didn't do that, I would probably end up with, whenever I go to lay it back down, I probably wouldn't lay it in the same spot, and then I'd be getting kind of like a ghosting effect, and we don't want that. All right, so that is pretty good as far as the pressure. So there is a little bit of so this kind of light area in through here. I might be able to eliminate that if I apply a lot more ink, but some of that is actually the texture of the plate that I'm using. So I'm okay with kind of that static that's going on in through here. And like overall, yeah, I feel like the shape, if you don't recognize this already, this is kind of a cheesy little image from Pac-Man. So my Pac-Man shape and my ghost shape turned out pretty well, and like the stages, the kind of lines from the stages for the maze came out about how I expected. So I'm happy enough that I can use this to start moving forward with my project. Again, this particular image isn't my final piece, but it is a good proof. So it does show me kind of a good state of where I am on this particular one. So this, again, this would be a state proof. My next step would be to start developing my color plate. And then I would probably do what's called a color trial proof, and just kind of making sure that second plate is printed correctly, or printing correctly, and that the colors are how I want them before I would make the final state proof, or the Bonnetier, or which is like a French way of saying ready to print. So like I would be making any final adjustments and then making that final print and moving on. But for right now, my state proof shows that I'm on the right path and I'm ready to start moving forward with developing my second plate. Yeah, and again, you saw for cleanup, I'm going to leave the ink slab for now, but just to show how easily this cleans up off the plate too. Just a little bit of sprayed water, a paper towel. And so I am going to be doing, not for this video, but for myself, I'm going to pull another impression, another proof, impression or proof. An impression is just another way to say that I'm pulling off another print. But I do want to clean, in this particular time, I'm going to go ahead and clean it. Some of the line work in this is a little delicate, and since it's just water, it's easy enough to clean. So I'm going to clean it off so I don't get what would be considered fill-in. So if it starts to fill in, I'm going to lose like the white in through here, and it'll start filling in black, and that's absolutely not what I want to have happen. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of the quick run through of how I start my how I'd get my state proof done. Yeah, thank you so much for watching along.